All right, I'd like to talk about some BJJ drama. Enough talking about alcohol, guys. This is a family show after all. It's not really. I swear a lot. I say fuck, whatever. But sorry for the kids who listen to the show.
What's the most efficient path to victory against this particular opponent?
He's dropping off for the choke here. We could see the finish. It's looking tight. Tight at Alpra.
Hey, everybody. It's me, Matt. Did you miss me? Welcome to the podcast. I'm back, guys. Had to take a little bit of time off. And yeah, time to get back on the old horse again. The year is 2026. And super excited to start pounding out some episodes for you guys. Just wanted to say that I really appreciated everybody who reached out. There was lots of messages from actually all over the world. People hitting me up through email and Instagram, telling me how they missed the podcast. They wanted the show back and how they missed listening to it. And I really appreciate that, all those messages, guys. It means a lot to me. And yeah, I think I'm ready to make some episodes again. I want to talk about a bunch of things today. So much to talk about, so much to catch up on. I think the last time I put out an episode was, God, it must have been August, September, who really knows? It was a much needed break. And the original reason why I took off time is because I was getting ready for East Coast trials, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. I really wanted to put all of my focus into my team and myself in preparation of that tournament. We had 7 athletes that went down, and I really wanted to dedicate time to that tournament. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks before the tournament, I got injured and I wasn't able to compete at the trials. I'm going to discuss that injury as well later on in the episode. But you know, one thing's for sure, the people, they need a jiu-jitsu podcast. And I really miss talking to you guys about everything that is jiu-jitsu. We're going to talk about current events today. There's some drama. Obviously, we're going to recap the last couple of competitions that I did. And yeah, we're just going to get right to it. Before I do that, please support the show. Check out the links below. If you guys can, buy some Everyday Jiu-Jitsu podcast merchandise, a mug, a shirt. Really helps me out. Of course, you can check out my online academy. Haven't been making content for a while, but I do plan on making some more content this year for you guys. Who knows? Maybe do some instructionals. I think that I got to get back into it. But I will say, just there has been such a value of taking the time off, sort of recharging my batteries, and just, you know, being able to focus on the gym and my business and the students. I think it really is important sometimes that when we get too busy and we know we're getting too busy, that we sort of take time off. And if you can afford it, you know, sort of get bored again. And there's a lot of value in, for me anyways, in being bored and letting my mind wander. That's when I find I have some of my most profound thoughts with myself, and I can really sort of think about how I'm going to strategize what's going to happen moving forward. And yeah, it was a much needed break, and I'm back now. And thank you guys very much for all the kind messages. So the first thing that I want to discuss was Fight to Win Seattle. I took a match in Seattle for a Fight to Win. This would have been back in September. And it was a gi match. I unfortunately couldn't find any no-gi opponents. And there was one guy that from Gracie, Baja in the Seattle area, and I was offered a match. I think it was about a week out. And for those of you who know me, I'm not really a gi guy, but I wanted to do the match anyways. I know the rules are different for Fight to Win. For example, it's like sub only and 6-minute match. So you really got to go ham within the 6-minute time limit, and there's reaps involved. And that's an interesting contrast in the gi to be able to have reaps. It's not something that I train very often, but I was excited to do it nonetheless. And my goal was to pull guard and attack legs the whole time. And my opponent, can't even remember his name right now. All I know is when I did research him, he was doing a lot of guard work. And so I pulled guard right away. And I could tell by the look on his face, he didn't really want to be in the top position. He wanted to be in guard. And I'd be happy to exchange bolos with him and leg attacks if he did double pull, but he didn't. He stayed on top, and found myself an Ashigarami pretty quickly. And then I transitioned to outside Ashi. And from there, I was able to basically get like 4 or 5 solid ankle lock attempts where I would reap him belly down, and he would eat the ankle locks and then reset back on top in the outside ashi. And this kind of continued for the rest of the match. Outside ashi is not really a good position in the gi, but I was able to, on the fly, kind of prevent myself from being smashed into a leg drag, which is so super common in the outside ashi position in the gi. A lot of the time your opponent is just going to grab double collar grips and just smash you, and it's pretty easy to do in the gi. What I was able to do during during the match when I was in outside ashi, I did not think about this beforehand or pre-plan it in any way, but I actually took a cross sleeve grip on my opponent, and I was able to feed an outside leg lasso into that outside ashi position. So I had like a cross sleeve outside ashi spider, and my foot being a hook inside my partner's bicep completely prevented him from smashing me. And I was able to off balance him and continuously rattle off attacks from the outside ashi. And he was getting frustrated, and I can tell they didn't really have any answers for that except for to just try and smash me. But this defense was quite effective, and perhaps on Instagram I'll make a video explaining what I'm talking about, because I thought it was a pretty cool position. And I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty proud of myself for just sort of coming up with it on the fly. I guess it's funny when you're in a stressful situation and the chips are down, sometimes you can pull out some interesting solutions to problems on the fly. Like I said, I had no previous thought or planning for this particular scenario. And so that was a pretty fun match. Ended up coming away with the win. I did not get the submission, but I got a decision win, and it was fun to get back into the win column in the gi. So that was Seattle fight to win. Now, on the way home, I did experience an issue, and this is something that I've never really had for quite a while, and this was a flare-up, an autoimmune flare-up. Of course, if you guys have listened to the show, you know I have an autoimmune disease, and that evening, we dined on the finest Shake Shack confectionery, milkshakes and fried chicken and burgers. Of course, I don't eat bread, but I was indulging in gluten-free fried chicken and just eating like an asshole basically after the match. And after that, on the way home, it must have been around 2 a.m. that I finally got home. I realized, man, my ankle's pretty sore. What's going on? And I woke up in the morning, and sure enough, I had a flare up. My ankle had swollen quite substantially, and it was hot, and it was all of the things that I had experienced before. And I'm not going to lie, I had been, like I said, pretty relaxed on my diet, and this is sort of how it goes. I can eat things in moderation, and when my flare-ups die down, you almost feel a sense of invincibility, and you eat like an idiot and you indulge, and this is what happens. And my nutritionist told me, this is probably not just the Shake Shack that caused this flare-up. This is it was essentially the last straw that broke the camel's back, and everything you've been doing leading up to this is what contributes to your flare-ups. And I was thinking, what had changed? Why would I experience a flare-up? And I think I came to the conclusion that it was because of these Zyn pouches that I'd been taking. For those of you who know me, I play hockey, and Zyn pouches, nicotine pouches, are very common in hockey, and they're very common in the Jiu-Jitsu practice room. And so for about 4 or 5 weeks, I'd been taking these Zyn pouches. And man, I'm not going to lie, Zyns are fucking amazing. I would take a Zyn pouch before teaching kids class, and I would just get so fired up for the kids class. I feel like it really increased my ability it enhanced my coaching ability for sure. Not so sure that it helped my athletic performance, but man, I was finding that I was really enjoying them, and I was thinking, these aren't really chewing tobacco, so it's probably not the same negative effects as chewing tobacco or cigarettes. So fuck it, I'm going to keep doing these Zyn pouches. And surely enough, look what happened. About 4 weeks of using Zyn pouches, and I got a flare up. So I asked my nutritionist, hey, I've been doing these Zyn pouches. Do you think that could have anything to do with it? And she's like, oh yeah, that could totally overtax your liver. And especially with the diet that you have, I have a pretty specialized animal-based diet. She's like, that 100% makes sense. You shouldn't do Zyn pouches anymore. And I'm like, shit. But I'll tell you, if you go through the kind of a pain that an autoimmune flare-up like rheumatoid arthritis has to offer, I had never quit a vice so easily. That was a very easy vice for me to put down. And I haven't had a Zyn pouch since. Do I miss them? Yes, I do. But hey, I miss cigarettes as well. And Zyn pouches, I don't really, I can totally go without them. Now, this flare-up lasted me well over a month. It was about a month and a half. I couldn't play hockey. I couldn't train. I tried putting on a skate so I could play hockey again. And I think around the 7-week mark, I was finally able to put a skate back on. So quite a bit of time off. And it's insane how long these flare-ups can actually last. But I will say, I'm always trying to look on the bright side. I'm always trying to make something positive out of a negative experience. And I think the positive that I took away from this flare-up situation is that, my body is essentially warning me. It's giving me a signal telling me that, hey, you're doing something that I don't like. And if you keep doing this, it's going to affect you in the long run. So rather than wait for that long run, why don't I just start fucking you up now? And so I look at it that way. Instead of feeling sorry for myself, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm abusing something, a substance, and my body is giving me messages saying, hey, this will kill you, or this is bad. Don't do it anymore. Here's a little bit of a punishment in the meantime, just to keep you honest. And so when you start looking at things that way, it's not so bad. You can get over these things. And I've quit Zyn pouches and been pretty good about my diet since then. And I have not had any flare-ups or any symptoms since. So pretty sure that was what was contributing to my flare-ups. So, like I said, always try and find a positive in these situations. Just because something is going bad, that actually could be a blessing in disguise. In this case, it was my body telling me, you can't be doing this shit, man. You're getting older. And I'm going to punish you for taking these little Zyn pouches. All right, now I want to talk about the last competition that I did of the year, and this was Prime Series BJJ. It's a local tournament here in Vancouver. It's actually a really well-run tournament. It follows the IBJJF. Basically, it follows everything that is IBJJF, down to the rule set. The divisions are almost identical, and the even the mats and the barricades, the yellow barricades and the blue mats, it's basically identical to IBJJF. And I know the owners of Prime Series BJJ. They're friends of mine. They own gyms in the area, and they basically want to replicate the IBJJF experience so that local athletes can prepare themselves to compete under that rule set. And so I went in there knowing that I would be doing a no-gi division with one other athlete. I'll be honest, locally, there's not a lot of high-level guys that sign up for these local tournaments. Excuse me. And the guys that are high-level, they're either not signing up in the tournaments or they are friends of mine. And so, a lot of us don't want to fight each other. But this is a guy who's from Brazil, and he's a young kid. His name is João Estrela. I actually know his brother. The name escapes me right now. Man, I can't believe I can't remember his name. He's actually kind of a buddy of mine. But these guys are like from Brazil and black belts. So this kid is a young kid. I saw his name in there, and I've never even rolled with him. I've never met him before, and I thought this would be a fun match, so I threw my name in there. And I found myself in a black belt rules no-gi division with him. He is in the division, like I said, it's similar to IBJJF. It's for black belts. They do over 185 pounds and under 185 pounds. And this guy easily weighs like 210. He's like 6 feet tall, 6'1". Me, I'm like 5'8" generously, and I walk at around 180, 185 when I'm fat. And I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to go into the 185 division, fight him. And the way that these divisions are set up is if it's 2 athletes, you do a best 2 out of 3 series. And these are 10-minute matches, right? So potentially 3 10-minute matches. And I sort of studied him beforehand. Like I said, he's much bigger than me. He's a black belt. He's 24 years old. I'm about to turn 38 years old. So he has a couple of advantages in size and youth. But, I'm confident on my no-gi skills, and so I agreed to jump in the division. And so for the first match, I go in there, and I'm not going to lie, the first 3 minutes of the match were a disaster. And you can watch this match online on my website under the competition footage section. I got my guard passed. I did not expect that to happen. He was it's very much a typical Brazilian style, like using more movement and explosiveness rather than, for lack of a better word, technique. There's like as Danaher calls, a Brazilian flair aspect to this type of style. And I'm not going to lie, it's not easy to deal with, right? I don't want to call it spazzing because I feel like that would be disrespectful because there is an art to it. But essentially, yes, spazzing would be a kind of an accurate way to describe it. And this guy's like spazzing past my guard. I did not expect him to be able to pass my supine guard, but because I was playing supine, I was able to pull into a supine position. My goal was to attack his legs. He recognized that my feet were in the air because I was self-framing, and he dove into a double underpass. He started spamming double underpasses, and he actually got a quick pass on me. And I was like, shit, this is not going good. 10 minutes is a long time, but this is a horrible start. So he's up 3 points. I recover, and I actually entered into a K guard, which he did a beautiful counter and backstepped the K guard into essentially like a mount position. And I was like, fuck, he's almost mounted me. He passed me into almost like almost into like a dorsal Kimura position. So he didn't get a mount, but he got the pass, and he's isolating my arm. And I'm thinking, holy fuck, this is going really bad. We're only a couple minutes in and I'm down 6 points, which, at the black belt level, it's not often you recover from those types of deficits. And he's isolating an arm. And then he's threatening my back. I managed to defend the back take and recover. And there's more than half of the match left. And I'm thinking, shit, I better get on my horse. And I'm pretty tired because when you're in a defensive cycle and you're just trying to recover and survive, it does tire you out. And that's when I noticed that there was kind of a shift in the match because he had kind of blown his load too. And at this point I had realized, okay, he's going to be spamming double underpasses. So I'm going to play seated now. So it'll be harder for him to scoop the legs. And that was when I was able to actually come forward from the guard and really threaten forward pressure. And if you've ever heard me explain seated guard or how I like to play seated guard, there is a video I have on YouTube about how to structure your seated guard. A lot of it comes from moving forward and keeping the guard passer on their heels. And in this way, you can kind of dictate the pace and maintain an offensive cycle. And so I was coming forward at him, and I could tell that he was backing up, that he did not really want to try and pass my guard. He was getting tired. He was getting frustrated. I think he kind of emptied his load trying to submit me. And now at this point, he was basically stalling, and he was getting penalties as well. At some point, it must have been halfway through the match, I'm playing guard, and he just sits down, which is really stupid. It's not really something you want to do because I just stood up and got my 2 points. And then he had realized what he had done, and he actually turtled and gave me his back, and I jumped on his back. So in a moment's notice, I was able to tie up the score based on a tactical error on his part. And to this day, I don't even know why he did it. I think it's because he was so exhausted. I was able to take his back, and then I had a rear naked choke. I was literally under his chin, and the referee stops us because we were near the out of bounds area. And then the guy puts his hands on my arm. So if you actually watch the match, his hands were completely away from my strangle arm, which was already under his chin. And then the referee stops it, and then he puts his hands on my arm. And so we get a reset in the middle with his hands in position. I'm literally about to lock a full rear naked choke, and he was able to escape. And as he was escaping, I attacked his arm. I had a full belly down arm bar. He was able to escape. And then at another point, I was able to enter his legs and get a full-on heel hook, where now he was spinning out of bounds. No real defense because it was a fully locked inside heel hook. He's spinning out of bounds. I get my 2 points. So now I'm up 2 points. And by the end of the match, he got, I could feel there was maybe like 30 seconds left. I mean, this is a war. This match was one of my hardest matches of the year, and I'm not proud of how I fought because obviously I gave up so many points, but I am proud of the fact that I was able to rally and come back and win the match 10-6 with some advantages because with about 30 seconds left, he just collapsed into my close guard and just held me down. And I knew that he was too tired to do anything at that point. I could feel him just shut down. I just closed my guard. And right before the time ran out, he got his his third penalty, which awarded me 2 points. So I won 10-6. And I'm not going to lie, I was fired up after because, as the match goes on, I'm actually starting to get more confidence. I'm starting to recover, and I'm actually feeling pretty good by the time my hand was raised. I'm tired, but I can see he is exhausted. And of course, we're supposed to do a best 2 out of 3. And I'm bouncing around. I'm trying to stay warm. I'm getting ready for another match, and I'm thinking, how am I going to play this next match differently? I was thinking I'm going to stand with him. I'm just going to try and wrestle him because I could tell he was tired by the end of the match. I could feel him break. And I said, okay, well, let's see how your wrestling is. Maybe I can tie you up on the feet again. Again, I got another 10 minutes, right? And then I go in the back where the referees are. There's a referee room where I go to when I ref at this particular venue. And I see him there, and he's sitting on a chair hunched over. His rash guard is off. He's literally in a pile of sweat on the floor. It was actually crazy. There was just a pile of sweat on the floor, and the medics are checking on him, and that's when they notified me he's not going to be able to continue. And so I won the best 2 out of 3. The second match I won by a walkover, which is like bittersweet, it's sweet because obviously I won, and I broke him enough that he could not answer the bell and fight again. So that is awesome, but it's bitter because I really wanted that second match. I really wanted to prove that, I'm better than what happened in the first match. And it was one of those things where I guess experience and I want to say technique, because I was able to get in on a lot of submission attempts that were tight, fully locked submissions. I'm pretty sure I popped his arm pretty decent, and his knee, I didn't feel his knee pop, but he was holding it and favoring it. So I think there was some damage done. Like I said, this guy's like 6'1". When you're trying to heel hook somebody with levers that long, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult when compared to somebody your own size, because the legs are so long, you're so extended. When you're trying to submit, it can be difficult to get enough breaking power to actually break the joint. And I was fucking trying to break it. But nonetheless, that was the last match, unfortunately, of the year for me. I only had one loss this year. I actually had a really good year, won a bunch of tournaments in the Pacific Northwest area. The only guy I lost to is my buddy Lucas Wilhan. I lost to him by 2 points at the Copacabana in the finals. And I'm pretty happy with my year. And basically, I wasn't able to do any other tournaments because pretty close after that, in fact, I was feeling the effects of it at that tournament. I developed an injury that I wasn't really aware of. I wasn't really aware that I was developing this injury. It was a hernia, some kind of sports hernia, and perhaps an inguinal hernia. So I think multiple issues in my abdominal wall. Normally with a hernia, you hear about a hernia and you think like your guts are popping out of your abdominal wall, right? Like there's a bulge and you got to push it back in. So I don't have any of those symptoms. I don't have any guts pouring out of my abdominal wall, but I do have I have a weakness in my groin and ab area. Every time that I do a lunging movement, or in hockey, let's say, anytime I do a stride and I'm extended, I feel this intense instability inside my groin. And I haven't played hockey since September. I think I had my last game right after Prime BJJ, and I went on the ice and I was like, man, my skates are dull or something. I feel like I have no balance right now. I ground through the game. I finished it. It was painful. And then I got off the ice and I think, I think I'm fucking injured. Like, I don't know what's going on here. And then I really assessed the area, and I'm like, man, it really hurts to do certain movements. I think I've got an injury here. And so I went and saw my physio, and he's like, yeah, I think you have a sports hernia, or sports groin, as he called it. Very common injury for hockey players and soccer players. And it does make a lot of sense because I was playing hockey 2 to 3 times a week, rolling 6 days a week, weightlifting. I had added sprinting and plyometrics to my exercise, to my workout routine in preparation for trials. I'd been preparing for trials since like basically February, March of last year, getting ready for East Coast trials, which took place in November. And I think it was just too much, and this is the thing, when you love to compete and you love to train, at some point you're going to get old. And like I said, I'm going to be 38 next month in February. And you got to understand that when you love to compete and you love to train, your body will always quit before your mind quits. So I'm doing all this extra training. I'm not getting enough rest. I'm just taxing myself. I'm trying to get on every ice time that I can. I'm trying to run, trying to ride my bike, trying to, train hard every session, trying to wrestle. And it all just adds up. And yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to do ADCC Vancouver. I wasn't able to do ADCC trials. And yeah, I'm actually still injured. I haven't really rolled in about 3 months now. Now, since last week, I started, I'm trying to find drilling and target sparring that I can do around this injury. So I'm letting people attack my arm, starting in arm lock position, trying to work my way out. I'm starting in a headlock position and work my way out. I can do that without hurting my groin, but any lunge movement, any wrestling situation, any, guard playing situation, any wrestle ups, can't do any of those things. So it's like really limiting. And basically what my physio and my doctor told me are, you're in line for imaging and an MRI. You got to baby this thing. You got to sit out and just, you can do these lifts. So I can lift weights. Oddly enough, I can do deadlifts. I can do squats, no problem, which is super weird to me because I would think that those types of lifts would not be possible with a hernia, but for this hernia, they are. But the second I try and go into a lunge, no way. Second I try and run, can't do it. Any pull-ups I can't do because I can't pull my knees to my chest. So I'm not gonna lie, it's humbling, when you have an injury like that. And I'm no stranger to injuries. I've had many of them. I've had injuries that have kept me out for, better part of a year. And I don't know if this is something that will require surgery, or if it's just going to heal like in a year. I do feel like my abs are getting stronger, but there's still a very obvious pain. And usually after 3 months, if you've taken your, done your physio and you're taking your recovery seriously, if there's no improvement, generally they start looking at surgery as an option. So that might be down the pipe for me. I don't know until I speak to a surgeon and a specialist and I get the MRI imaging done. I will not know what I'm going to be doing. But I just want to share that with you guys because I'm sure there are some people listening right now that have injuries. If you do jiu-jitsu, you probably have injuries. And so, I'll keep you guys posted on that, but it's kind of sucks because I wanted to do ADCC Vancouver. I really wanted to do trials. And even though I have realistic expectations for winning trials, I was basically going down there and doing it with my team because they're doing it. And the majority of them are kids athletes. Unfortunately, I was not able to compete and it is what it is. Another cool thing that happened is I got a new car. I got a Volkswagen a GLI, which is kind of like the fancy Volkswagen. The only reason I got that model is because it is a standard. You can't really get standard vehicles anymore. And for many, many years, I wanted to drive standard again. I finally got my standard. I switched from Japanese vehicles. I drove a Civic for like decades. Now I'm driving a Volkswagen Jetta GLI, and it is so fucking fun. I love it. And sometimes you got to spoil yourself. And man, it's been a pleasure to just drive that car. And there's definitely something to be said about the German ingenuity. It just handles different. So that's kind of my new toy. And yeah, I really didn't need a new car. I just really wanted one. And the gym has been doing well lately. So I figured to myself, hey, you deserve this, and I think it's important for you guys out there. A lot of the time we'd rather save money than have some indulgences. But hey, I always say I'm here for a short time, not a long time. I'm here for a good time, right? You can't take your money with you. And I think it's important, when you've put in some hard work and you run a business or you're just grinding away at a job, you get a promotion, whatever. Sometimes you got to indulge and you got to enjoy things in life. And, I think it's okay for those indulgences to reflect your success. And I think that's why I got that car. And, oddly enough, there's just not many cars out there that are in standard anymore. I think in the future, we're just not going to see any manual cars, but it's a fun thing to do. I'm not a car guy even, but if you're a car guy, you'll definitely understand how fun it is to change gears and I also think it's safer. I think you have more control of the car. Anyways, I don't want to bore you guys with cars. I'm not a car guy, but new Volkswagen Jetta is fucking fun to drive. The thing goes too. It's got turbo engine, and yeah, I'm probably going to definitely get some speeding tickets. Let's talk about ADCC Vancouver. That was a local tournament here. Obviously, you guys know that I am from Vancouver. We had a really good showing. Lots of kids competed. For the second year in the row, my gym, On Guard BJJ, won the youth team trophy in Canada for the second year in a row. And that is a huge accomplishment. We had such a big team. I think it was like over 40 competitors, and we just cleaned up. It was awesome. I really, I'm proud of the team. I will say we did have a situation where one of the kids, you know, he was doing multiple divisions. He had a really bad day, and he actually quit midway through the day without completing a second division. And, you know, kids are emotional, and this is what happens sometimes when you sign up for multiple divisions. He lost his advanced division, and he was supposed to be in the intermediate division, and he was pretty down on himself. And then in the intermediate division, he couldn't continue, and he basically just quit. And it was a learning experience. And this is a great kid. I love this kid. He's actually a good competitor, and he's a really good student. He was having a tough day. And I did something that I would like your guys' opinion on, especially if you're a gym owner. This is not something that I've done before, but after that incident, I kind of thought, well, I have to do something like this. And that was develop a code of conduct. And the code of conduct is for competitors at On Guard BJJ. So for my gym, I basically wrote out in writing clear expectations for competitors on our team. It could be kids, it could be adults, anybody who's planning on competing. And basically all this was a document saying, and you'll be able to find it on my website. I'm going to have it up there so that everybody can read it and see what's expected of them before they compete. And it basically says things like, you know, it's your responsibility to show up to training. It's a privilege to represent our gym in competition. If you start a division, you have to finish it. It's your responsibility to know the weight rules and to make weight and to understand the rule set and to put the time into the training. And if you're not doing those things, then you're not really, I don't know, you're not clear to compete. It's not like you can just compete. You have to be granted the right to compete for this team. And what it did, I think it actually made competing for my gym a little bit more exclusive, which actually makes it a bit more of a special thing for the kids. Like there's a clear expectation for the competitors. And I say kids because the majority of my competition team are kids. We have a really big and strong competition team. I would say, you know, probably one of the best, if not the best competition team in Western Canada or Canada. And I've talked about that in previous episodes in my formula for teaching kids. But it's just saying, hey guys, you know, if you're going to sign up for a competition, this is not just a right as a member of this gym. It's a privilege that has to be earned. It has to be authorized by the coaches. And, you know, obviously we're going to be as supportive as we can possibly be, but just to know there's some clear expectations. And this is the On Guard BJJ competitor code of conduct. So please let me know what you think of that. Is that too far? Is that something that is beneficial, or is it a nothing burger? I would like to know your guys' opinion. Okay, let's talk about ADCC East Coast Trial. So this is the tournament that I was training for many months, and I wasn't able to do it. We flew down for about a week to Orlando, Florida. I've never been to Florida before. Interesting place. And yeah, what a tournament. I'm sure you guys watched it, of course. I'll just talk about my team first. Like we had a bunch of kids going. I think we had 7 athletes. And one of our girls, Nicole Mojica, she won her division and punched her ticket to the ADCC World's Championships for kids. Pretty awesome. We also had the Loria brothers, Severio and Giovanni, or Junior as we like to call him. Junior got bronze, and so did Severio. Severio losing to, what's his name? Sidney Katz from, I believe, Alpha Miami. Kid's unreal. And Severio lost to him in the semifinals, I believe, and then won in the bronze. I really think that was a a character building moment for Severio. If you don't know of Severio Loria, you're definitely going to see him more and more. This guy is a blue belt, but he operates on a purple or brown belt level. He's beating brown belts and black belts locally here already. The kid's unreal. He's 16 years old. He's a protege. He's a student of the game, and his brother is like a headlock savant. Both of these kids extremely talented and coming from very supportive families. So they're going to be, really, really successful on the big stage in the upcoming years. And it was a really great character building moment for Severio to see him go through those matches because he fought extremely hard. He fought the kid who won, and he honestly looked the best out of anybody fighting Sidney Katz. So that was a great character building moment from Severio. And it's funny because ever since that tournament, whenever I see him compete, he's done a couple tournaments since then, his level of confidence is just through the roof. And that can happen when you go do a big tournament. You can come back and it's just like, whoa, you leveled up a bunch of different levels compared to when you left. There was kids that were in the gym that were, or one kid in particular who would give Severio some difficult roles. And after ADCC trials, Severio came back and like, he's smashing that kid now. Like he's clearly just, the gap has increased. And that can happen when you go into these big tournaments. And it's fascinating as a coach to watch that, just to see someone's level take off. And of course, we had Lincoln Costello, who unfortunately didn't medal at the tournament. He did have a couple of wins, but he did get caught. I can't remember who he fought, but this kid from I believe Alpha Miami, not sure his name. He Nogi Ezekiel's everyone. And he actually caught Lincoln with a Nogi Ezekiel from the closed guard, which is a move that I'm not really super familiar with. Like it's not a move that is part of my game, but he was able to get into the get closed guard on Lincoln and then lock a body triangle from the closed guard and then punch a Nogi Ezekiel. And it was one of those moves where it's like, you're caught. And what's funny about the Nogi Ezekiel is there's kind of like a shelf life on it. Like if you try and do that move in the adult division when slams are allowed, you're going to get slammed to shit and potentially knocked out. So I really like that with teaching kids, there's a shelf life on a lot of these techniques. And when they get older, that shelf life goes away. Or when there's like a new move, there's like a novelty advantage associated with that new move. For a while there, it was the Woj lock. Now everybody knows the Woj lock, or, leg locks in general. Like 10 years ago, nobody knew leg locks. Now everybody knows leg locks. So if you can get in, and stay ahead of the curve and get into these moves before other people, there's such a novelty associated with these moves. You can really exploit competitors in competition. And this Nogi Ezekiel, I think, was really interesting. And after, I'm like, man, when I'm healthy enough, I'm going to try to do that, because that is it's like a cheap move if slamming is not allowed. And once it was on, I don't really see anybody do that to Lincoln. He was just caught. And it reminded me of back when, I've been caught in competitions, and like, specifically, I got caught in a buggy choke, and I was just like, man, that was a well-applied technique that I did not see coming. And that is one of the reasons why jiu-jitsu is so fucking cool, is because you can train so much and prepare as much as you can, and then you can go out there and get caught with something you've never expected to get caught with. And you can be upset about it, or you can just sort of sit back and admire how diverse the sport is and how infinite the sport is, and be like, wow, I can always learn something. I can always gain something. Even in loss, I can see how beneficial this is. And it sucks to lose, but wow, did not expect to get caught with something like that. Okay, so let's talk about real quickly about some of the winners in the tournament. Of course, Jocelyn Molina, she got a bronze medal in the 13-year-old division for 65 kilogram and up. I believe she's the youngest athlete to ever medal at an ADCC trials. That's fucking incredible. A 13-year-old. Nicole she just turned 14, and Nicole just dominated her division to win her gold medal. But this is the adult division. This is a 13-year-old winning the 65 kilogram ladies adult advanced division. I mean, that is unheard of. Jocelyn Molina, definitely keep your eye out on her. Jacob Borneman beating Michael Sains. in the 77 kilogram division. That would have been my division. Wow. Thank God I didn't have to fight any of those fucking guys. Holy shit. Those guys are, I'm watching those guys fight and I'm like, I'm pretty good sitting from the sidelines from here. These guys are going crazy. Incredible skill. I've seen Michael Sains destroy guys that are incredibly good. And then you see another guy, Jacob Borneman from Pedigo, just, I don't want to say destroy him, but basically, I thought he was winning that match all the way through and kind of just ahead of Michael Sains in all of the exchanges and not really shooting, but just, using clinch work and underhooks and showing that you don't really need to shoot too much to win the wrestling exchanges in these divisions. That's what, Gordon always talks about as well. If you're shooting, you're taking these huge risks. And then you got Dorian Oliveras, who won the 66 kilogram division. Dorian, he won his second ADCC trials, that tournament. I watched him win the East Coast trials in Atlantic City 2 years before. Dorian is, what can I say? Dorian's fucking unreal. He's a legend in the making. I always say that. This guy had an incredible year. He goes out there. Some of the wins that he's had this year, he's won many, many tournaments. And to finish off the end of the year, he also had a win against Samuel Nagai, who's like world-class grappler, beat him at UFC, BJJ. This is a guy, Dorian, absolutely exhausted Felipe Pena and Ethan Krelliston. Like, this guy just does not stop. His pace is unreal. He's one of the guys that really inspired me when it came to loose passing, watching how he uses distance as a weapon when he's passing the guard and footwork, distance footwork and angles. I don't know who's going to be able to stop this guy. It's going to have to be somebody with like incredibly good connection and good guard work because nobody can out wrestle this guy at 66. He beat Gavin Corbet in the finals. I'll say this, Gavin Corbet had some pretty fantastic takedown defense in that finals match. It was fascinating to watch. But in the end, Dorian just wore him down and was able to get the win. So Dorian Oliveras, guy's going to be an absolute problem. I wonder if he'll do MMA later on in his life. I assume he would. I think that's in his goal. I always see him doing like stand-up training on his Instagram story. And, he's got the best jiu-jitsu coaches. He's a fucking unit, man. Dorian, I love watching his style. Whew. For those of you listening, I'm sipping bourbon whiskey. I finally got to a point in life where I actually like bourbon and scotch. For many years, I tried to like it, and I don't. I don't usually, but now I'm at a point where, man, this actually tastes pretty good. It's stiff as hell. If you guys ever know who Mr. Leahy is from Trailer Park Boys, whenever I'm drinking a bourbon, I'm always thinking to myself, oh, that's a stiff fucking drink, Randy. You guys should definitely check out Trailer Park Boys. Some Canadian legends. But Mr. Leahy's always drinking hard liquor and and the bourbon is quite hard. But that can't be good for my autoimmune disease. So I'm drinking it sparingly. But I'm just finishing up my winter break here, so I'm enjoying some bourbon. Plus, for some reason, Canada stopped getting bourbon because I believe bourbon is made in the South. And I guess there's like a boycott on alcohol and products coming from the States. I don't know what it is. Everybody I talk to up here is so upset with Americans because of Trump and whatnot. And they're like, I'm not going to drink bourbon whiskey. I'm going to drink Canadian whiskey. And I'm like, yeah, but it's the best. They make the best bourbon down there. So I'm enjoying this fine Kentucky bourbon. And I don't care if it's from the States. By the way, I love the States. Every time I go to the States, it is always such a pleasure. I actually find the people in the States to be kinder than the people here. I think that the people in Vancouver are, quite frankly, not the most friendliest people. But whenever I go to Vegas or even Orlando, like, people are chatting to me. They're super friendly. Of course, when I go to Washington, everybody's friendly to me there. So for me, I'm a Canadian who loves the States. All right, I'd like to talk about some BJJ drama. Enough talking about alcohol, guys. This is a family show after all. It's not really. I swear a lot. I say fuck, whatever. But sorry for the kids who listen to the show. Let's talk about some drama that I want to catch up on. Some of it's old, some of it's new. First on the list, Natalia Santoro getting caught perhaps under the influence. We don't really know the full details of the case. In a green Porsche Cayenne, I believe, a Porsche Cayenne. I believe Gordon bought her that car, and she got pulled over, and then or she evaded the arrest. And once the cops, I believe they performed a pit maneuver, which is where they ram into your car and drive you off the fucking road. And then when they go in the car, they find a gun. And sorry about that sound. I don't even know if that gun was registered or not. And I'm thinking, why would you need an unregistered gun in Texas? Texas is, I believe, open carry. And as a Canadian, I could only dream about walking around with a gun on my hip. I'm a little bit of an American. I'm sorry. Like a lot of Canadians up here hate guns. I actually love guns. And I think walking around with guns would be super cool. But she's got a gun in her car, and it's not registered, as from what I know. And then she flees the country instead of showing up to court. That case is still ongoing. We don't know what's going to happen. She's like pushing her OnlyFans online. It seems like her and Gordon aren't together anymore. I don't know. That relationship has seemed to be pretty rocky for quite a while now. And if you watch Train Angry MMA on Instagram, if you follow their channel, they'll always take every opportunity they can to laugh at Natalia and Gordon. Of course, there is the infamous alleged sexual assault that was performed with a particular brother of Gordon Ryan. And those accusations are still going strong. And she's on the run. And I don't know if she's ever going to come back to the States or she's just going to stay in Asia and evade arrest. But, you got to think eventually that's going to catch up to her. So that's an interesting story. And then, of course, unfortunately, this is a disturbing case. Isaac Michel has been accused of sexual assault from many women. Again, Train Angry MMA and Craig Jones collaborating on this and going really hard at Isaac. And it's bad when he is removed from Kingsway BJJ. Of course, Gordon and Danaher releasing public statements about how this can't happen again. And one of the girls that was that has accused Isaac has come forward is Luke Griffith's sister. And there are many others, apparently. I mean, Isaac Michel is he just won the Asian trials, I believe, at 77 kilogram. I don't know how he makes 77. I met him in Vegas and I shook that fucker's hand, and he's a predator all along. Kind of makes me gross, makes me feel sick. But I don't know how that guy makes 77. He's huge. You got to think that ADCC will probably not allow him to compete anymore, or will they go with the innocent until proven guilty approach? I don't know. It sounds like the guy's pretty damn guilty. And man, why the fuck do you have to? Why do you got to bring that shit into jiu-jitsu? It's something that's in our sport. And when you think about sexual assault with women, it's not, in my opinion, it's not all about sex. A lot of these fuckers do it for power. There's a power dynamic that they're trying to set up. And, of course, there could be things like PEDs, like steroids and like Tren and these different supplements that can totally make you, hyperactive sexually. And the old cliche is that Tren makes you like literally a gay guy. Which is, I think, a lot of the accusation around Gordon earlier on. And who knows why Isaac did this or allegedly did this, but we got to keep this shit out of BJJ. I mean, it seems like even locally here, I know people where there's been many accusations against people who owned gyms, and some of them still own gyms. And yet these fuckers are still allowed to have business. It is, if you are a woman who has been abused, you definitely should say something. And, there are people that'll talk to you and listen to you. Don't feel like you have to stay quiet. Bring your story forward. At least go to the police. You don't have to lose your confidentiality. You can remain unknown. But just understand that if you do get abused and you don't say anything, that person might abuse more women or whatever. And so jiu-jitsu is not a place where women should be getting abused. It's a place where, as the old saying is, like, women should be empowered. And I think that's one of the real beautiful parts of jiu-jitsu is it does empower people, and women are no exception. And that's what we need more of, more of that and less fucking predatory behavior. And if there is somebody like that in the gym who is a predator, like, you got to say something, guys. You can't just let shit like this happen And I do want to commend Gordon and Danaher and Craig for kind of coming together on this and agreeing on this, because, man, that is, it seems like that was a pattern behavior, and I'm glad that this guy's going to get what he got, what's coming to him. Contrast that with like J-Rod. You know, I just saw the other week that J-Rod is training again at B Team. You know, I've talked about J-Rod on the podcast before. Of course, this guy was caught with, I believe his girlfriend exposed him with pictures of his training partners, public pictures. So not nudes, not AI modified pictures, but just public pictures. And basically was creating a gooning file where he's likening these women to, adult film stars. And so that's where it's like, that's when you know you got a problem. Like you got a problem with masturbation, a sex addiction, whatever it is. Guys, porn is really fucking bad. It is like one of the worst addictions out there, and it's really bad for our civilization and society. And you can see that here. And I don't believe that J-Rod like necessarily deserved to get kicked out of B Team. But, you know, when it happened, everybody was commending them for kicking him out. The guy's got a problem. I don't know that he abused or did predatory behavior, but then again, I don't know the whole story. So it's definitely not the same situation as Isaac Michel. But I will say that I believe that, you know, for what I know of the J-Rod story, I don't think that the guy should, you know, lose his career as a competitor. I believe he should be allowed to train. He should be, you know, I believe in second chances, and I don't think that these are the same things. And I don't think we should pretend that J-Rod is some, he's not a predator. I don't think. He's just maybe has an addiction, and, you know, and none of us, you know, ye who sin cast the first stone, right? And so I wish him all the best. And I hope we can see him compete again, because I love watching the guy's style. I've learned a lot from watching J-Rod's game, and he definitely deserves to compete at the highest level. Last piece of drama I want to talk about. You know, I wasn't going to talk about this. This is spicy. This is very spicy. This is the second time recording this episode, and the first time I recorded, I talked a lot about this topic, but there was a situation here locally, perhaps you heard about it, where potential neo-Nazis were infiltrating the martial arts scene here in Canada and even locally here in Vancouver. I don't want to say too much on that, because everybody that I'm surrounded by is crazy liberal up here in Canada. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I don't follow any political affiliation at all, because politics are a great way to divide people. I just know that the people mentioned in the case are not neo-Nazis. I know one of the guys. I don't ever know him to be racist. I know him to be friends with people of different races. And I do think that the CBC, the Canadian Broadcast Channel, is very, very sensationalist when they try to cover cases like, if there's ever a potential racist issue. And basically these guys, they're painting them to be these Nazi extremists, like they're planning to be domestic terrorists. And they went to this meeting that was a supposed secret neo-Nazi meeting. Guys, you can watch the meeting on YouTube. I watched the whole thing because I really wanted to know for myself. It's nothing to do with Nazis, in my opinion, allegedly. Nothing to do with Nazis. And, this was, I just wanted to mention it because it kind of came, and it was a huge thing that everyone was talking about. And then it went, and people lost their businesses. People got fired from their businesses. One of my other buddies apparently had one of these guys at his gym and had to fire him. And I'm not defending this guy. But one of my good buddies who's black is friends with this supposed Nazi. Friends with him. And he's like, this guy is not a Nazi. This is fucking crazy. This guy's the nicest guy ever. He does have a past. But you know what? When you have a past, sometimes jiu-jitsu can be an outlet for a second chance. I know so many people who were ex-criminals. I don't know anybody who's a Nazi or an ex-Nazi, even though if you listen to this article by CBC, it'll lead you to believe that white supremacy is a problem in the martial arts landscape in Canada. It's not. If you ever hear that, it's just not true. I've never met a white supremacist on the mats. I've never had racist issues with people on the mats. One of the great things about jiu-jitsu is it is a place where lawyers, cops, drug addicts, criminals, athletes, nerds, anybody, Muslims, Jews, Christians, Buddha, it doesn't matter where you come from. We all share the same struggle on the mats. And that is where we can all experience equality. And that equality is the struggle of training in jiu-jitsu. And some of the best people I've ever met have been through training martial arts. And yeah, I was like, guys, am I crazy? I started asking my friends, you ever trained with any Nazis? Like, did you ever know anybody who was like a white supremacist? No, nobody has ever done that. It's not a thing. It is, it's essentially propaganda. And, but the thing is when you have an ultra liberal point of view and everybody who doesn't agree with you is a Nazi, well, guess what? You're gonna find Nazis everywhere, right? So I just wanted to make a note on that. Don't cancel me. CBC will probably come after me and wanna slander me. Like that. This is the reality of the situation. Is I could be the next on the chopping block for the comments I've made in this episode, but. At the end of the day, you guys, like not everyone's a fucking Nazi just because they don't agree with you. And I listened to that whole presentation that was the supposed Nazi rally. And it was pretty fucking lame. It was just dudes like talking about how they should fight, learn how to fight, lift weights, and, stick with their pre-Christian European traditions. And then I sent it to a couple of my liberal friends and I'm like, does this mean Nazism? They're like, well, yeah, that means Nazism because this means this. And I'm like, really? I just can't see it that way. It's kind of funny how you can hear different points of view from the same piece of information. And it just like, that's just a perfect sum up of like things like COVID and Trump and, all these political hot topics that divide us. All they do is divide us. Guys, let's leave that shit out of jiu-jitsu. White supremacy is, first of all, I don't even think it's a big issue. And if you don't like my opinion on that, you're probably not listening to the right podcast. I don't really get political too often, but I'm not going to stray away from politics. And I'm not going to tell a lie when it comes to people accusing my industry of being full of like white supremacists. It just isn't. Get over it, guys. It's fucking ridiculous. All right. I'm probably going to get canceled and sued over that. Now I just wanted to finish the episode with talking about what am I studying right now in jiu-jitsu? Because you guys know I like to stay ahead of the current trends. And I like to I like to watch DVDs. I like to study. Well, right now I'm watching the Duck Under DVD by Cole Abate, which is essentially like a leg drag with your head on the outside. And this is a great position because you can use it to pass the guard. You can use it to enter crab ride situations. If you guys know, back in the day, I had a crab ride DVD with Stephen Kesting before he turned into a COVID idiot. And now you can't get that DVD anymore. But I used to play a lot of crab ride, and I'm having a lot of fun revisiting this subject in the gym. And we spent about 4 weeks in the gym playing this duck under position. Like I said, it was Cole Abate from AOJ, his duck under DVD. Very cool position. When you get there in the gi, it's actually very solid because you're basically under the guard. And that's what I love about this duck under and the crab ride is you're not going past the guard, you're going under the guard. And there's a whole world under there where you can, exploit your partner. So I really think that duck under is cool. I'm also checking out Octopus Guard 2.0, which just came out like a week ago from Craig Jones. Very, very good. Man, if you guys, I think Octopus is like going to become super popular. If you guys watched Roosevelt Souza a couple weeks ago at the No-Gi Worlds, he dominated. I believe he got double gold, and he did it by using octopus. Tons of octopus sweeps. Just the guy has become like a real octopus savant. So I'm currently digesting that DVD. I really, really enjoy it. I also wanted to talk about Who's Number One 31, which was Penna versus Griffith. I wanted to touch on that because that was recent. What do you guys think? Did Griffith hold on to that submission too long? You could see Pena tapping from this rear naked crank and definitely tapped like probably 5 or 6 times before Griffith let go. And then, of course, the corners stormed the mats, and there was a bunch of anger and whatnot because of the history between Gordon and Felipe Pena. These things happen, and I'm not gonna lie. If I'm a referee and I see somebody hold on to a submission and try and break it past the tap, I'm probably going to DQ the other person. But since this being the highest level, I can understand why, you can't really DQ Griffith for that. I found it very distasteful. But now he's the champion, and he almost beat Pena at the last ADCC Worlds. And then I believe Pena was able to take his back and win the match. But those guys have fought before to they had a very close contest before. So I'm actually not surprised that Griffith was able to beat Felipe Pena. And man, Luke Griffith, very, 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 very impressive this year. Then we had Chris Wojcik. He beat Oliver Taza. He basically dominated him positionally. Chris Wojcik, of course, known for the Woj lock and other leg locks. He's a leg lock savant, and he's just an all-around awesome grappler. I talked to him in episode 73 about guard and playing guard, and the guy is just like he's like the kind of guy you want to train with. He's a beast. He's a fucking savant, and he's super nerdy in jiu-jitsu. Guy is just incredibly intelligent. Congratulations, Chris Wojcik. And I love Oliver Taza. I've trained with him, but that was a hard match for him. The thing about Taza is like his main weapon is his leg attacks, and if he can't get those leg attacks to work, it's going to be difficult for him to beat these guys. Plus, I think he was giving up some size to Chris Wojcik. So that was a match that I enjoyed at Who's Number 131. All right, guys, we're almost at the end of the episode. I want to throw a curveball at you guys. I told you there was going to be a lot of stuff in this episode. Well, one thing I want to talk about is something that just happened the other day, and that is, I don't know if you want to call it this, the liberation of Venezuela. And this is a political topic for sure. Like I said, I don't really get too political in podcasts. I don't really have an opinion on things like this. And I'll be honest, ever since COVID basically radicalized me. It radicalized me not to one particular political affiliation, but it did make me think, okay, if I see something on the news, I'm just going to be skeptical. I'm not going to say everything's a lie, because I don't think that's the truth. I don't think everything is a conspiracy, but I don't think everything is as it seems. I don't think, I'll just fill you guys in. I'm sure you've already heard the Trump administration last night, as of this recording, sent in Delta Force and basically targeted the capital of Venezuela and removed the dictator, the President Maduro, and his wife, and took him back to the States. It's fucking crazy. He just went in there and removed him. And guys, I know a lot of you probably don't like Trump. I get it. I'm not a Trump guy. It seems to be, if you mention Trump, that's like the quickest way to make the average leftist insane. And I'm not here to do that. I'm just saying, it seems like a play that I've seen before. Let me think. Venezuela, what do they have? A shitload of oil and resources, like the biggest cache of raw oil in the world. And it looks like they could use some freedom. I shouldn't even be joking about it. Guys, the Venezuela, if you guys don't know about Venezuela, it's basically a communist shithole for many years, people starving, very poor, and a shitty quality of life. People eating like dogs and cats and birds because there's no food, there's no supplies, there's no toilet paper, there's no food. This has been going on for a long ass time. Do some research and look up the history of Venezuela. It all kind of happened when they nationalized the oil industry and basically made it like a dictatorship, right? And they took over all of their resources. And I am anti-communist. I'm not anti-socialist. I'm a Canadian. We have socialized systems up here, even though a lot of them fucking suck. Like if you need to get an MRI here, like I am right now, you're probably going to wait, a year. But hey, free healthcare, as they say. It's not free. We pay a shitload of money for healthcare, and it's not the greatest. But if you break your arm, you'll be seen, and you won't have to pay for it when you go to the emergency room. So yes, there are benefits to our system. It's certainly better than Venezuela. But you know, I am anti-communist because, you know, I've studied a lot of history growing up. That was kind of the thing that I was really interested in. And, you know, when these countries get overly communist and socialist, I just don't like what happens. The government gets too much power. People starve. The quality of life goes down. And I believe the people of Venezuela really wanted to be liberated anyways. And I do think that a United States presence in Venezuela could be beneficial for the people of Venezuela in terms of the quality of life. But I don't want to think for a moment that it's because the Trump administration did that because they're trying to free the people of Venezuela. You know, that is obviously that is the angle they're playing. Oh, we've liberated these people, and we're just giving them a good dose of American freedom. That's the angle they're playing. But in reality, now they own all of this crude oil and just gained a bunch of wealth. So, you know, I believe that if the United States has control of Venezuela, they will no doubt improve infrastructure and quality of life. But I don't think that that's their main intention. You know, it's just like, it reminds me of the war on terror, right? Going into Iraq over reasons that were not true, and playing angles like trying to protect our freedoms. And I'm old enough to remember all of these angles that they were playing. And man, you can't believe everything you see on the news. So it's going to be an interesting situation how it pans out. I believe like 24 hours before they went in and took out the president in Venezuela, I believe China had a meeting with Venezuela. So I think Trump is just getting ahead of China and trying to take control of that area. But what kind of long-term ramifications could this mean? Like, you're definitely not making friends with the Russians or the Chinese doing stuff like this. Guys, I am not a political pundit. I'm mostly ignorant. I crab ride people and I heel hook people. Do not look to me for political guidance or opinion. This is an opinion show. If you don't like it, go listen to BJJ Mental Models. But I just wanted to chime in because it's a huge thing that just happened, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I hope that the people of Venezuela get I hope that they can get food. I hope that they can feed their families. I hope they get out of the oppression that they had, and I hope their quality of life improves. I also hope that this doesn't escalate into a global conflict. Like I said, I love America. I love going down there, but don't get me wrong. When I hear shit like this, I think to myself, this reminds me of the war on terror. And I don't think that the intentions of the United States are purely just to serve the people of Venezuela. They clearly have their own initiative going in there. It benefits them because now they have access to all of this oil. And man, what the fuck is going to happen next? I don't know. All I know is it's the end of the episode, and man, I miss rolling right now. So guys, what does this mean moving forward? I don't know if I'm going to be putting out weekly episodes. I do have an episode coming out with Nathan Orchard pretty quickly here. Before I was giving you an episode every week, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to keep up with a weekly regular episode for you guys. I'm going to do my best. And basically, I'm just going to be talking about jiu-jitsu when I want to. And that's because I need to give a lot of my attention, a lot of my resources to my team at my gym. And I know you guys understand that. If you guys want to support the show, check out the links in the bottom. If you guys want to yell at me for my opinions and talking about Venezuela, go ahead, comment, send me an email. Links are on the bottom. Other than that, I really hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you guys have the best new year that you can for 2026. Oh shit, I wanted to talk about New Year's resolutions and things like that. I will say my biggest thing that I wanted to complete for 2025 was I wanted to get more sleep. I think I achieved that. That was my goal. For 2026, I just want to stay healthy. I want to make sure that I'm listening to my body more. And it has to do with my same goal of 2025. It has to do with recovery, but man, I gotta anticipate when I'm going to get injured a little bit more, because as I get older, I am putting my body through way too much output, and I need to be a little bit more in tune with my body. But I just need to, I need to try and keep myself on the mats as much as possible. I think it's important for you guys to always have a goal, to reflect on your goals last year. Don't just let them be in the past, but think, did you reach your goals? What was missing? What could you do better? And then for this year, have some goals. Think about what you want to achieve in jiu-jitsu, outside of jiu-jitsu. Do you want to buy a new car like I did, or are you happy with sticking with what you got? Do you want to, learn octopus guard? Guys, you can check all that shit out. Check out Craig Jones Octopus 2.0. It's a really good instructional. I'm finding it very, very helpful. And I like it a lot more than his first instructional, to be honest. Yeah, check it out, guys. Anyways, I really miss you guys. Thank you for listening. Everyday Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. It's everything you need to know about Jiu-Jitsu. Peace.